Hello friends, this is Shrink RC. We make body mounts for hard body rock crawlers. I wanted to talk to you about this Mojave 4-door mounted on a Traxxas because I just swapped things around a little bit. This is the Traxxas that we used to have the gray Chevy truck on, and I took that truck off. I'm going to use it on a new project using a Trail King Pro chassis. And I asked what you guys thought I should put on here instead, and RC Mechanic said 4-door Mojave, and Bober's RC liked it, so that's what I did. I thought I'd talk about what it took to do that, because what I did is what you'll need to do if you want to mount one of these on here. So keep watching if you want to know how to mount this body on this chassis. So first thing I did was I already had holes in the back for the shock towers, because this body was on a Vanquish before. It was on the Vanquish Pro, and I had the shock towers for that sitting a little bit more forward. So when I moved it to this body, I couldn't move these shock towers forward anymore. That's what I wanted for the Traxxas. So I just went ahead and opened up this notch back here a little bit more. Now, these are controversial. Some people like to use a cantilever setup. Some people like to use a shorter shock and mount it up inside. I kind of purposely do this on all my builds because I want to show you like the easiest and cheapest way to do it, so that you know you can do this without having to go and buy a bunch of extra stuff. If you want to, you can buy extra stuff, or you can avoid doing this kind of thing. Like I said, there's cantilever setups, shorter shocks, things like that. But I kind of purposely do every build with the frame and chassis as close to stock as possible, and the body, you know, with the minimum amount of modification, but without having to add a whole bunch of other stuff, because I don't want it to be like, oh, you can do this kind of build, but you got to buy this, you got to buy this, you got to buy this. You don't. You just buy a body, get a TRX4 kit, and do this build. Now, I threw a couple items back here to you know, kind of hide it, and you know, when it's going along and stuff, you don't really notice those holes. Now up front, I decided to just go ahead and use the bumper that comes with the body, with the hard body. I like that bumper on there. There was not quite enough room for the factory bumper mount in here, so I could either make something new or just leave it. It's really not very much flex in this chassis. I might just leave it, or you could cut the factory one down a little bit. There's a lot of options you could do. And then, of course, a lot of people just won't even put this bumper. They'll cut that clean off, and they'll put a, you know, some kind of aftermarket metal bumper. And at that point, you can see it's kind of just in the right spot to just take that bumper off, put whatever aftermarket type thing you want to on there. I'll go ahead and pop this up. This bed, I bobbed it a long time ago when it was on the Vanquish. So it was bobbed so short that it actually kind of got in the way of the rear bumper mount and stuff when I put it on this Traxxas, because the Traxxas actually extends out a little further. So just did that little cut in there. I don't know if you guys saw. I don't want to go putting it back on there, but there's actually a couple pictures, bunch of pictures in the last 2 posts that show you what this all looks like together. But I want to move on and show you what the inside looks like. That's the rear bed support. All of our kits come with bed supports. The Chevy truck ones actually come with 2 bed supports, so that you can support the separated bed. These rear links have been extended a little bit. These are they're the RPM version, but they're the Traxxas long rod ends. So these are the normal rod ends that you would see on both ends, but you can see I actually replaced all 4 back here with longer ones, and that's because these bodies are a little bit longer than 12.3, and so the way you adjust for that, you know, I'm talking about the 4-door Mojave, I'm talking about the extra cab, is by adding a little bit of length right here in these rear links only. I don't even know what this drive shaft's from. I think it's from an SCX-10 too, because I had a real short drive shaft on here at one point playing around. Now I'm back to this drive shaft. There's actually not much that's modified on the frame, as you can see. All I did is I took the factory side plates completely off. I put our side plates on here. I've clipped the little ears off of the speed controller, and then I double-sided taped it on here. The servo, these servos all connect to the inner parts here, they don't connect to the side plates, so you can run all the servos. There is room for those servos. Let me hold this in the right orientation. Here you can see where I grinded up in spots to make clearance for the top of the motor right here. That's what this grinding is. There's even a little bit of daylight showing there, but you don't see it when it's all put together. It just looks dark in there and you can't tell. And then this groove here is to clear the tops of those servos right there and make room for them. I'm showing you all this because this is the kind of stuff you wind up doing when you put hard body builds on linked chassis, is you got to reconfigure things a little bit sometimes. And in fact, I like on the Traxxas, I like to run the battery up here. This is a Traxxas front battery tray. You obviously have to remove the stock battery trays on these for all the hard body builds. Basically, you got to get rid of that big central battery tray. And I run the Traxxas battery tray up in the front here, and you can run about I run a 2200 milliamp battery up there, but you can actually fit bigger if it's a stubby. The nice thing about having the battery up here too is if you have one of the rigs that has a hood that opens, well, there's your battery, you just get right to it like that. If you don't, I like to use a little power tool to quickly unscrew the screws there. But that's basically it. You can see that the drivetrain on this one is pretty stock. Took the waterproof case off of here. I don't go in the water. If I did, I'd get an aftermarket waterproof case that was a lot smaller than the factory one. Put all that in there, maybe even a smaller receiver. There you go, guys. Peace.